Colby, you know what this podcast is?
What's that, Barry?
It's a shit sandwich without any bread. If anyone can guess the movie off of that, then points to you.
Points to you. Yes.
What's going on, guys? My name is Barry,
This is Colby.
and this is Who Watches This.
Theme music.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the second week of.
This is. Should they have made this a remake of this?
It's like the long way of saying it. Oh man! But
It just was just like remake.
oh man, no, super funny though. But I really, for this movie, I think I tried my hardest not to watch it. The first one that came out in the 80s was fine for me. It just wasn't really my type of movie.
Oh, okay.
Did you did you watch the original, right?
Oh, I absolutely loved the original.
Did the original make you did it make you like a super patriot after that? You're like, yeah, hell yeah, America.
It did. It was like right at that age where you were like had fantasies that that kind of thing would happen.
You had fantasies that this would happen.
I think every kid that age.
I think I liked that in this movie it kind of addressed that.
Yeah.
And they're like, it sucks. It's the same though. It's the same with like when people are like, man, if I was in a zombie apocalypse, you would do nothing.
Right. Yeah, I would.
Pretty much we would just lay down and just like, all right, well, here you go.
Yeah, I'm like, am I the first one eaten, or do I find like a room and then I just eventually just starve to death because I'm too scared to leave?
Well, I think
those are the two options.
It's funny, but like when you always go for the starve option, I think at some point you're just like, well, I have to eat something, and if I die, whatever.
Right, I'm gonna die anyway.
So
might as well run for it.
Yeah. And it's kind of the same with this, right? I mean, the only reason that this movie is a little bit plausible is because one of the characters is active military.
Right.
But let's go ahead into our Mr. Movie trailer so people can know what we're talking about. Fall of 2012. The most American movie came out. Two brothers fighting against home invaders. With Chris Hemsworth still attempting an American accent, and Josh Peck, whose face looks CGI at times. Will this movie be able to live up to its 1984 predecessors? Let's find out in 2012's Red Dawn. This is like, it's so funny because I feel like this is like around the time where Thor 1 just came out.
Yeah.
And and Josh Peck, who was pretty much just off of his stint of being Drake and Josh.
Right. This is his first, like, he did a couple like funny movies post being 300 pounds.
Yeah.
But this was the first like kind of more action-y film that he did. And like, I watched a little interview with him and he was like, this was my dream to be like an action star. And it was like, when they hired me for this movie, I knew that I had made it, and I didn't know anything about football, and there's like a football thing at the beginning. So I practiced with like college athletes, so to to learn how to play football, so it was realistic. And then I studied with like some like Navy SEALs, so that I knew how to act. And then it was like, and now like 10 years later, looking back at it, I was like, wow, all the stuff I thought I learned was the stuff that like I did the worst.
Yeah. Okay, so like before we get into just like the movie plot or the plot of this movie, or it's almost like a full moon runtime.
Yeah.
Super short. And so like before we really just delve into this, I want to hear about your like experience watching the 1984 original with what's his name? Dirty Dancing.
Patrick Swayze.
And was
it was
Charlie Sheen?
It was a star-studded original movie. Was it the girls were famous? It was the Back to the Future girl, right?
Was she in there? Freaking Leah Thompson?
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Leah Thompson. Jennifer Grey was in there.
Right, and she was the other Dirty Dancing girl.
Oh my God, was that her? I think it is. Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh. She's just like after Dirty Dancing, she's like, let's go, Swayze, onto the Red Dawn.
C. Thomas Hall, he was huge at that time.
Oh,
like same kind of like teen heartthrobby.
Yeah, C. Thomas Hall was one of the major bad guys in Criminal Minds.
Right.
Yeah, and of course Swayze and Charlie Sheen playing the titular, no, not the titular, but the brothers Jed and Maddie. I'm glad that they kind of kept that as well, because like when you look at Chris Hemsworth and Josh Peck, they're like, one of those guys got picked up in the garbage, like they're not biological brothers. And then when you look at Patrick Swayze and Charlie Sheen, he's like, yeah, the mom cheated, like they're not biological.
But they could have one parent in common, where the Chris Hemsworth and Josh don't. Yeah, one of them's adopted.
Nah, I think it's the same. I was like, why is one blonde, one brunette? But yeah, no, like, so tell me about your experience watching the 1984 classic.
Oh no, it was like I said, it was. God, I mean, I was probably 10 or 12 years old.
Yeah,
it was like at that time where like everybody in the neighborhood was like, we had all wooden swords and we were like pretending we were ninjas, and like, like definitely like all imagination. Like we hardly ever watched TV. It was like all like live your life outside. And so it was like we built stuff in the garage, and
yeah, you guys were primed for abduction.
Yeah. And then we all went and saw this in the movie theater, and man, it was like, okay, well, the next 9 months is going to be like, we're all going to be like fighting, the Russians who are coming out of like the bushes in the backyard. No, this was great. And I was already familiar, like certainly like I already knew Patrick Swayze, I knew Charlie Sheen, like, so like you already like wanted to be those people.
Yeah. And now it just solidified it.
It just solidified it, yeah.
It's such a, like, this, I can imagine that this movie gave the same effect to American youth, or just American people in general, as what the Olympics does.
So, like, I think about it, it's probably not too far off of the timeline for, like, Karate Kid. And, like, Karate Kid came out, and then, like there was, like, a 900% increase in kids signing up at,
for
like,
karate.
For martial arts.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I remember watching as a kid. It was, like, one of those, like, movies that always showed up on Sunday night. Like, Sunday night movies. Like it was always this, like Dirty Dancing, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, like all the '80s movies played in the '90s on Sundays. And I just remember watching this as a kid. It's like, man, this movie's so American. And honestly, this movie starts out the same way. We start off doing the most American thing in a small like city or a small town, and it starts off in a football game.
Football, yeah.
Which Josh Peck had trained for like the first 5 minutes of this movie. And Chris Hemsworth, he shows up. He's in his American truck.
Right.
There was like a 1965 Ford. Just one of those, like, it's one of those trucks that can cut through a Japanese.
I almost feel like it's the same truck from the first movie. Like very similar. Maybe a couple years, but the first movie was also like old pickup, old hunting truck, old fishing truck.
Yeah, that like the trucks or like the American cars from back in the day was solid steel. It's like 12 miles to the gallon. And it's cutting through any, like, I love Toyota, but it's gonna cut through any Toyota car clean.
Right. And it was like pre-electronic.
Yeah.
So like anybody who took shop could open the hood and fix it.
Exactly. Yeah, like you get that book, that manual that's about like a Bible thick, or not, like a dictionary thick.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I love about old cars, is that like you were able to like, well, I can fix this.
Yeah, right.
But like with cars today, it's like, well, no, you also need an electrical degree. It's crazy. Especially because I have a hybrid, so it's like, yeah, they're like, oh, sorry. Like AutoZone is like, sorry, we're not going to change your battery for you because, there's too much dangerous stuff in there. So you could do it. I was like, oh, I don't want to do it now. But yeah, this movie starts off Josh Peck, captain of the football team, surprisingly. And then like Chris Hemsworth is there. He's watching the game. He pulls up right next to the sheriff, who he later learned is his dad.
Right.
And Josh Peck isn't really doing great. I think maybe there's a lot of pressure on him. Like maybe we kind of get the sense that Chris Hemsworth was probably also the captain of the football team back in the day.
Right. Yeah. And there seems like there's a bigger age gap. Like in the original movie, it felt like it was like two or 3 years.
Yeah.
And here, I think they said it was like 6 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think so. Yeah, because that's what he says. He disappears for 6 years.
Yeah.
And there's also, like, I don't know, like, I don't know football positions, but I'm going to go off based on my Waterboy knowledge, I think Waterboy played a cornerback. And there's just one cornerback just talking shit to Josh Peck. And, it's just like, yeah, he folds under pressure, unfortunately. But, no, like, the town's, it's not Texas. So everyone's like, hey, man, you did what you could.
Right. Yeah. Like, even Dad is like, hey, man, good game. You did your best.
Yeah.
So you weren't like, because if this was
John Voight from Varsity Blues
84, where the original one, I was been like, what the hell, boy? We've been practicing that in the backyard, throwing football through tires. Yeah.
Yeah. But, it's Spokane, Washington, so, yeah. They're a little bit more cool.
That's true. That's true.
But Chris Hemsworth leaves after that like horrendous game. They go to like the local hangout spot, which is like a bar restaurant.
Yep.
Where Chris Hemsworth, he's like drinking. He gets approached by a girl he used to go camping with. Like their families used to go camping together. Tony is her name, and there's probably a pretty decent age gap there as well. Maybe like 4 or 5 years.
Right, because she does kind of say that, like, I felt like you used to always have to be our babysitter, and you didn't get to have fun on the camping trips.
Exactly. But now she's like, I don't want to.
She's got to be 21 because she's drinking a beer.
Yeah, but like it still was like, yeah, now you're smoking hot. But Josh Peck rolls up there with his like cheerleader girlfriend, and everything seems all cool. Josh Peck doesn't approach his brother. It seems like there is a distance between them,
Right.
or
Yeah.
even at this point, you don't even know that they're brothers until like the lights shut off. Like there's like a huge blackout or brownout. I don't know what America calls it when the lights go off. What do you guys call it? Blackouts?
Blackouts.
Okay, because in the Philippines, I don't know why that we call it brownout.
There was something different between the two of them. It was like brownout was like if it was a section of town, it was a blackout if it was like the whole town.
Oh, okay. But yeah, no, like they end up getting home. What's it called? Josh Peck gets dropped off by his girlfriend in her sweet Ford Mustang.
Nope.
And what's it called? Chris Hemsworth is there. Jed, he's there, and the dad gives his son a pep talk because he has to go for the night shift, and he's like, hey, like you did your best, and that's all I could really ask for. I was like, wow, what a supportive dad. I wonder what that's like.
Right. Yep.
And Jed tries to talk to his brother. He's like, hey, you want a beer? And he's like, I'm gonna drink milk.
Nerd.
Right? If this was the 84s, yeah, stop being a bad word.
Yeah.
But no, like they go to earlier in the movie, we do get a section of like the news talking about like North Korea and Russia. So kind of like setting it up.
Kind of like the opening credits. They're talking about how much power North Korea is getting, and how many countries are falling, in line with their protocols.
But this movie really like hits the fan quick because the next morning, like there's like bombs are rumbling.
Yeah.
The house is shaking, and Josh Peck gets outside, and he sees the sky filled with planes and parachutes.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, no way. No way that they got this through, They explain it later on to the movie, but still, like, okay, the progression of this movie is insane. But, all right, so now everyone's on high alert. There's, like, this just freaking plane crashes into the neighbor's house and kind of blows them away. And then Jed's like, let's get the fuck out of here. Gets in his truck. They're driving. They meet up with Dad. He's like, follow me. All these North Korean soldiers already have, like, vehicles there.
Right, yeah.
I'm not going to question it, like, whatever. And, so we get this, like, super intense chase scene. Maddie is like, hey, can we go get my girlfriend? And they try to, after getting split up with Dad, because Dad's like, get to the lake house. And I was like,
right.
Wow, how much is this dad making that they have a lake house? But then I was like, oh, it's Spokane, Washington.
Which is super expensive.
Now.
That's true.
Now.
But this was only 2012.
I know, but like,
maybe.
if you think about,
you're right.
If you think about when they got it, the mom was still probably alive. So it might be like early 2000s they got that,
Right, yeah.
You don't just get a lake house out of nowhere, Colby.
Right, and that's true. Yeah. What Maddie was, he's in high school.
Yeah.
So that would have been like 18 years. So they would have been like mid 90s. They picked it up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like remember, like they're like we used to go to the lake house all the time.
Yeah.
But no, and so super intense chase scene. They run into Josh Hutcherson from Hunger Games.
Yep.
And man, like, so like crazy chase scene. They get T-boned by a North Korean Humvee, which sends one of the kids that got into the truck of the bed, or the bed of the truck,
right.
Sends him flying into the Humvee. That kid's dead.
Yeah.
Because there's no straps.
We're all like, hey, how come some kid we haven't been introduced to yet has gotten into the back of the truck? Oh, so we could kill him.
Yeah. And they get there. They get to the lake house. Everyone's like adrenaline is through the roof.
Right.
And we get there with like Chris Hemsworth, Josh Peck, Josh Hutcherson, a kid named Daryl who's friends with Josh Hutcherson's character Robert. I think it's so. Like, sorry, I'm gonna try to use their real name. So Jed is just Chris Hemsworth. Maddie is Josh Peck. Josh Hutcherson is Robert, and then there's Daryl, and then a kid named Pete, and another unnamed character, and then we get two people that are in town from San Diego, which is I believe his name is Diego, and the girl from The Rookie.
Yes.
One of the I'm gonna call her. I think her name was Melissa. And so, like, yeah, they're there. Everyone's on high alert. Nighttime kind of rolls out. And no, it was before nighttime. But like all of it. Oh no, yeah, it is nighttime. Nighttime kind of rolls out. Chris Hemsworth, he's like telling everybody to get down, turn off all the lights. Maddie has been pretty combative,
and they've kind of done their quick once over the house. They find like a hunting rifle. Pete finds a handgun in the RV.
Yeah.
So they're not completely unarmed, but half of them have like baseball bats and hockey sticks.
Yeah. Oh, meanwhile, I forgot to mention during the chase scene earlier on, they couldn't get to Erica because her family was already getting accosted by North Korean military. So was Daryl's dad, who's the mayor of the town.
Yes.
And so, cut back to the night at the cabin. They're running. Chris Hemsworth tells everybody to get down. Maddie's been pretty combative with Jed, but he's like, I know what I'm doing. Get your ass in the house. But it turns out to just be an ambulance with another two people in there, which is mainly Tony and, what's it called? The guy from fucking The Purge 2. I don't remember his name. Or Purge 1.
Edwin Hodge, and he plays Danny.
Yeah, Danny, who Purge 1 and 2. Forgot about that. And then Pete kind of shoots a little bit and almost hits Chris Hemsworth. And so Chris Hemsworth's like, give me the gun. And he's like, who made you the boss? And he's like, here, let me just talk to you, dude. And snatches the gun away from him and then pushes him down like the child that he is.
Yeah. Chris Hemsworth now is at least a few years into the military.
Yeah.
He's
been to Iraq.
At least 4 years older than everybody else in the group. So he is the logical leader. So there's already not a question of who's in charge.
Yeah. Also, like, not only is he the oldest one there, he's also military.
Right. And his stature is larger than everybody. Like, there's nobody in that group is going to be able to fight him.
Exactly. Well, no, I think he's a little bit older than 4 years because Tony is a little bit younger than him, and she's 21.
Right. Okay.
So I think he's like 6 years, because then he left Maddie 6 years, and presumably he left to go to the military. So he's probably around 24 at this time, 22, 23, around that age, right? But yeah, no. And so like the night kind of goes, they sleep, but when they wake up, Chris Hemsworth or Jed is like talking to Maddie, and he's like, "Hey, get up! Fucking Pete left with all the food." And so, and so he,
Pete, you bitch.
I know. There's always one. There's always one fucking guy, you know. But at this point, he knows what's happening. He's like, "We've been invaded, and I got to tell you guys right now, I have to fight."
Yeah.
And I don't expect anybody else to do it because fighting is hard. But when it's in your backyard, it hurt, and you're fighting for family, it hurts a little. It hurts a little less, and makes a little more sense. Now, is that the same? Did Patrick Swayze make that same speech in the original? Or no?
He kind of made a little speech, but it was different than that. But yeah, same gist.
So they go into town after, everyone's like, all right, we're in, this is our home. Our families are down there. Josh Hutcherson tries to leave because he wants to get to his family, but Tony's like, I didn't know how to tell you, but your parents are dead. And he's like, all right, well, I guess I got to stay then. Nothing left for me to do, I guess. And so, yeah, like, they go down, they kind of scope out everything. They're like, holy shit, they've been planning this for months, maybe even years. And so when they try to kind of regroup, they try to go back to the lake house. Unfortunately, that fucking rat Pete
Yo, that's right. Yeah.
sold them out. And North Korean guys is like, yo, where is he? He's not here. And unfortunately, they have Daryl's dad, the mayor, and they have Jed and Maddie's dad.
Right. It's really funny because, like, I now have sorry,
No,
little side story. A number of times I've seen the mayor,
Yeah.
Daryl's dad, and I'm always like, I know who that is. What did I see him in? And then I look it up, and it's like, oh, he's the black dad from everything. He's like, oh, he's the dad of the guy from Mayor of Kingstown who is like gets killed in prison. Oh, he's the dad of Black Manta from Aquaman. Oh, he's the dad from
His designated role is Black
designated
Dad.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like that. I believe that Mexican guy who's always playing Hector.
Yes,
I believe he has
yeah.
like 40 something credits as Hector. But yeah, Daryl's dad is like trying to make a speech with the megaphone, and he's like, "Well, Daryl, if you're out there, please, come here." And the North Korean says that we're gonna be okay, and we just live in this new regime now.
Right. As the politician, he's trying. It's the we'll bow to them to save the most people. Like he's being the very diplomat. So
Yeah.
like it's understandable. It's not like, oh hey, none of us know how to fight, and there's an army in town. Let's stand up against them. It's
Exactly.
we're all gonna die.
But Jed and Maddie's dad is like, sons, I love you guys, and I want you guys to do what I would have done, and it's to fight this fucking North Korean guy. And unfortunately, yeah, he gets domed in the head by a gun.
Yeah.
And Maddie, obviously, he he freaks out, and Jed has to pull him back and like cover his mouth from like the yelling and the crying, and they leave.
Right. And I don't know if at this point or some point you find out that their mother had passed away.
Yeah.
Previously.
Yeah, because that's when Maddie tells us like, yeah. I think it's a little bit later, but yeah, we do know that the mom had died as well, and they torch the house.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's kind of dangerous. It's like in the woods. Just like leave somebody there, for a night to make sure they don't come. Or else you're just gonna burn the whole like forest down.
Right. Yeah.
But they regroup. They plan. They're like, this is our home. They don't even want to fucking be here. Also, it just like, okay, historically, it doesn't make sense for this to happen just because the supply line would be so stretched out, like so thin, that like to cover like a landmass like America with an invasion would take so much manpower. Even
well, they kind of explain it, and then, like, to me, it was like it's like the Russia-Ukraine thing.
Yeah.
Like Russia has only taken over like a little chunk of Ukraine so far.
Yeah.
That's what they did here. They came in.
Well, no, because like when later we learn on, I'll keep my thoughts to like the later, because then that way we can kind of explain the state of this movie. But so like now they're like, all right, well we're like Jed is doing another speech, and he's like, like again, super propaganda. I gotta say, is like, when I was overseas, we were the good guys instilling order. I was like, oh brother, but here we're the bad guys, and we got to create a little chaos. And so at this point now that we're going full Home Alone situation, a lot of guerrilla tactics. He's taking a lot of books from just like wars that like bigger countries have lost during the time, like when America lost against Vietnam, just because too much home advantage for Vietnam, right?
Right. Yeah.
You got it. Let's be honest. We didn't win that one. We lost a lot of good. We lost a lot of people doing that. And so he's like, yeah, because even the smallest ant can, like, piss off a fucking elephant, right? And so yeah, like they're taking the town, or they're trying to instill a lot of chaos. They're tagging up the whole city with like Wolverines as like their insurgents name.
Right, because that was the name of their football team.
Yeah, super
So that
American.
and most of them, most of the people who have escaped were members of the football team. That's how they were all friends. So
Yeah,
it's kind of like they're
exactly. Same high school, same, probably the same football team. So, they're doing a lot of that. They're taking supplies little by little. They're doing like little car bombings,
right.
and they're learning little bits and little bits because they still have people in town that are not free, but they're just like they're heavily observed.
Right, because the 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 North Koreans can't imprison everybody, so they have imprisoned a small amount of like the troublemakers. So that includes Josh's girlfriend, but like the people who are just like fall in line,
Yeah.
they now have just like they've propaganded everything. Where like like Korea is saving the United States. Korea is rebuilding your economy. Korea is making your life better. So that like, it's like, okay, well, we can live our day to day. We're just now under the rule of,
North Korea. The
yeah,
Pacific Northwest is under the rule of North Korea. Yeah, like I was like, when did they have time to also bring all these banners and nameplates that you later see in the police offices?
it, they did a, so they do a really good job with the timeline
Yeah,
in the original movie.
yeah,
And you realize how long it is.
yeah,
Here, like you're like, is it like a week? Is this like a month? I don't know how long they've been.
yeah. I think it's because this movie is like almost 35 minutes less than the original. The
Right.
original is
Yeah.
about like 1 hour and 48 minutes before and after all the credits, like beginning and end, and this one is like an hour and 28. Like
Yeah.
barely qualifies as a movie. But no, yeah, so they're having decent enough success, right? With all of these little guerrilla tactics that they've been doing. But one day, Maddie's like, he kind of sneaks out. He's been sneaking out, trying to look for Erica, and he sees like the imprisonment camp,
Right.
and he
Yeah.
sees her there. And so when he gets back to the base that they've made in this little cave in the mountains, Jed comes outside and he's like, "What are you doing? You're like putting everybody else at risk." And he's like, "I gotta get Erica. Erica and her family has been more family than you have. You fucking left, bro. You checked out. Mom died, and then you've been gone ever since. 6 years. 6 years when I needed you, and
Yeah.
so pretty rough." Jed's like, he kind of like ruminates on that. But like Maddie gives him like a cell phone, and he's like, "Here you go. Here's how to get Cho, who is the North Korean officer who killed their father."
Yeah.
And so now they're like, "Oh shit! Now we kind of got a plan." And so they're having like this huge like ceremony where all of like the military leaders are there, and then we see that there's a couple of Russian dudes there too.
Right. And this is the first time that the Russians have been involved
Yeah. Oh,
that they know of.
yeah. But like, sorry, before this, like during their whole like bombing and taking back parts of the town, and there is a section where like Maddie sees that Pete has become a, what did he call it? Like he's a fucking traitor. That's what
Oh,
it
right.
was. deserter. I don't know.
Supporter.
Yeah. Oh, a sympathizer.
Sympathizer.
And they're like, and Jed is like, there's bound to be a couple, and what's it called? Pete notices, I think Danny or Diego leaving, and he knew that they were part of the group. But Maddie comes out and flips him the bird and explodes the building. I was like, hell yeah, fucking America, baby. But yeah, no, and so like, yeah, we cut back to them trying to plan out this whole situation. We're like, this is gonna be our chance to take out a bunch of the leaders, a bunch of the people that are in control.
Right. We'll actually make a difference, not just be an annoyance.
Yeah. Unfortunately, and they're like they set up, like they get a little bird's nest going on to get a good view of all these like military leaders. And then we have like Maddie and Melissa on the ground trying to set up a whole bunch of car bombs. But then
Right.
Maddie sees a school bus with Erica on it, and he fucks up the whole plan.
Stupid Josh.
And unfortunately for that, Cho was also ready for an ambush. And so now they're like in this huge firefight. Maddie is going to get Erica, kills a couple of, North Koreans, and saves her. Diego tries to go help, unfortunately gets gunned down.
Yeah.
And so everybody makes it back to the base, obviously like kind of down just because the whole plan went up in smoke.
Right. A couple people get injured. This is the first member of their team that they've lost.
Exactly. And then when Maddie comes back with Erica, Tony, like, obviously she's super happy to see Erica because they're friends. But she tells Maddie, like, hey, you don't want to go talk to your brother right now. And when he sees it, he's like, you really fucked up everything up. You really fucked it up. This was like one of our only chances to do some major damage, and you fucked it up. And he's like, I had to save Erica. It was like when you were going to save Erica, Diego died trying to help you.
Right, yeah.
So Maddie disappears for like 3 days. And, just super sad. I mean, yeah, it's like, yeah, it's on you. Erica was probably going to just go to another facility, probably be safe. You want to assume that she was going to be safe. But they also, like, they try to what's it called? During the escape for Maddie and Erica, they go into, like, this lady's clothing shop. And she helps them. And then they get some intel that, like, the people, like, from Erica, that, like, the people that have been kind of noticed helping the Wolverines
right.
are now, like, dying. And so they go to help the clothing shop lady and do some decent amount of damage again to, like, a lot of the soldiers there. But now the North Korean Cho is getting in trouble by his boss.
Yeah, and they're like, why is there a group of kids causing this much trouble and you can't take care of them? What kind of leader are you?
Exactly. And they're like, we have a location on them. Which is like, we never get the full scope of how he got it, but they just did.
Right.
And so, like, yeah, so when the night comes, Jed finds Maddie, tells him, like, hey, I need you. I need to know that you have my back, And Maddie, during this 3 days that he's been gone, he's been resupplying them with, like, ammo and stuff like that. He's like their Glenn from The Walking Dead. He's been, he's a little bit more agile and all that stuff. And so, he tells them to come back. He does. Everyone says, like, oh my God, so nice to see you, Maddie. And he goes up to Melissa, and they kind of share a look.
Right.
It's the look that you share when you're, like, buddies in war. Unfortunately, this reunion is short-lived because they get carpet bombed.
Right.
And we end up losing Danny and Melissa during the skirmish, which sucks. And so they run into the woods, and they kind of, they have to recoup and figure out what to do. And while Tony was on watch, she hears a little bit of rustling, and it's fucking Sam and Dean's dad. I know him from Supernatural, but, the world knew him as Negan.
Yep.
And they're like, yeah, we're former Marines, we're a part of the American something Revolution Army. I don't know, but they're like, we're trying to meet up with an insurgents group here, the Wolverines.
Yeah.
And to James Dean Morgan's like POV, it's like there's one adult and a whole bunch of kids, and he's like, oh fuck.
Right. Yeah.
Because he's like, yeah, we're them. And he's like, I was afraid of that. But now they're like, they have a little bit more backup, a little bit more firepower. I don't know why like Jed doesn't tell him, like, I'm also a Marine.
Right.
They don't have that conversation. But, time is short, especially in this movie. And so they plan to hit the police station, which is where the military has taken up headquarters.
Right. Because they have there's a piece of machinery that is what's keeping the
North Koreans in communication.
Right, where all communications are blocked except for the North Koreans can use this device to stick in.
And we also learned from James Dean Morgan, he's like, yeah, they set off like an EMP, so all of our comms are down. That's why we've been in a scramble and a whole mess. They have like these, what do they call, Uber boxes, I think that's what they call them, that keeps them in communication. Right. Every Midwest is still fucking America, baby. Still free. Still fucking free. But the scale of this is like they've taken the Pacific Northwest, but they've also taken the eastern border of like America.
Right, yeah.
So like, not a huge scale, but still to be able to take off one whole border of, the United States and then trying to take on the West Coast as well, trying to kind of corner us in from both coasts is still like a pretty large scale like event, right? And so they're like, all right, we're going to get into this place. And like Jed is like, oh, I know how one way to get down there. And he just jumps out of the window. He's like, cover me. And, they have like silencers on their like automatic machine guns or whatever, or their rifles. And the other three Marines, they're like, this fucking sucks. And then later they throw the rope down and they're like, what the fuck?
Right, everybody else just slides down the rope.
Well, like Jed, Maddie, and the three Marines do it, and then they have the two other kids just like go by like with the rope. And the Korean guy's like, what the fuck? Because mind you, these aren't active like Marines. They're unretired Marines, so they're not in they're not in bad shape, but they're also like not young anymore to be jumping from building to building.
Right, yeah.
Oh man, but now they're like, their whole plan is to just go ahead and invade this police station, which they do, but almost getting caught a couple times. But yeah, everyone's like, they've scattered. They're fight. What's it called? They scattered. They're on the building. What's it called? Robert and Daryl are trying to look for, trying to knock down some of their communication systems. James Dean Morgan and his friend are just trying to secure or like do cover for everybody else. And Jed and Maddie are on the Uber box. Now they get into like a whole bunch of firefights happen because they're like, James Dean Morgan is like, Jesus Christ. And a whole bunch of firefights kind of run throughout the building. But the most important one is the one with Jed versus Cho. Now, Maddie's able to secure the box, and he tells Maddie to get the fuck out. Robert and Daryl split up, which unfortunately Daryl gets tagged by a Russian, a Ruski.
Yeah.
And he gets tagged. Like, he gets stabbed a little bit, and then he's like, no, let him go. We'll find you, little rat. James Dean Morgan's friend, I think he ends up getting shot after taking out a couple North Koreans. And so they're able to escape. Jed does kill Cho though after a pretty decent fight. almost like
Right.
a pretty realistic fight too. Like you would think, like like in this movie situation, it's a North Korean, like what's it called, special forces versus a goddamn Marine. That the fight would have been a little orchestra, a little bit like John Wickish. But no, it's a
Yeah.
pretty realistic fight.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Right? It's not like a long drawn out fight scene. They're not like it's not like the raid or something like that. It's just a good old American beatdown, baby. And then like, before he kills Cho, like headshots him, he's like, you mess with the wrong fucking family. Boom.
Right. Oh,
Headshot.
right. Because he finds his dad's desk, and his
Yeah.
dad's desk has like a little hidden thumb safe that releases a
bottom.
gun
Yeah.
under the gun.
It's his office, his dad's office, because when he
Yeah,
slides
yeah.
out Lieutenant Cho's like little fucking nameplate, it's like his dad's name.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like they're kind of feeling good. They're like, all right, we got the Uber box, it's all, I think we're doing good. Jed comes up to Maddie and he's like, hey man, like I'm not good at this, but yeah, I'm fucking proud of you, man. It's such a guy thing, because like it's such
Right.
a sibling thing too as well, right?
Right.
Because Josh Peck is like, gay.
And he's like, finally, beer.
Yeah. And and Tony's like, I was like, man, they're about to fuck in this situation.
Oh yeah.
Adrenaline is super high. And it seems like things are, turning around, like they're about to like kind of like shut this shit down, at least in the Pacific Northwest. Unfortunately, Jed gets headshotted.
Yeah.
And they're like, holy fuck. And so now it's a mad scramble. Everyone's like super sad. Maddie switches on. Like he switches the whole like, shit, my brother's dead. Now I have to take on his role.
Right.
And he's telling everybody to go. He tells Tony like, we gotta go. Jed wants us. Like he doesn't want us to die here because he's dead.
Right.
Yeah, it's almost like a whole like a 180, like a different guy at this point. And they get everybody out, and like they get away in the station wagon, and they go until like daytime, and they get out a little bit, and they check Daryl's like wound, and Robert's like,
Right, because they're trying to figure out. There's no way they could have found us.
Yeah.
Like nobody followed us. So how did they find our little hideout?
And they're like, Daryl, like, let me see your jacket. And then he's like, let me see your wound. And they notice there's like a little bump or something in there.
Yeah.
And they're like, holy fuck, they tagged him. And now they're like, Robert obviously is sad, but he's just like, is there any way we can take it out of him? He's like, we don't have the tools to take it out of him. It's pretty deep in there. And so Daryl's like, everyone's like, Tony's fucking pissed because she loved Jed.
Yeah,
like,
she's like, okay, well, your fault. We're killing you.
Yeah, like because before they got carpet bombed, she was like, yeah, when we were doing the whole family trip thing, I was super into you, but then I got so sad because then you brought me to this place where you were making out with some other girl, and she had shitty hair, but I did my hair like hers because I wanted you to notice, but I was in middle school, and he's like, yeah, that was awful. That hair was awful on you. And so, like, they had, like, and plus they were going to fuck right after, but, no, and so Daryl's like, he's like, he wants to sacrifice himself. He's like, no, like, just leave me some gear, give me a chance to fight my way out of this, but you guys got to go.
Right.
You guys got to go. And so, like, yeah, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, they drive up to some field. He's getting picked up by some Marines, and he's like, you guys want to come? Like, you guys, your fighting is done. Like, we got it from here. We're able to cut off their communications, and and you guys can rest because you guys lost a lot of people you care about. And he's like, no, we're gonna stick back, and we're gonna keep the pressure on.
Right. And then he did. Is that where he like kind of quotes something like that his brother said?
Yeah.
That like about they're just fighting over land and we're fighting for our families or something.
Yeah, because then the movie kind of like flash forwards a little bit, and he's like on top of a car,
Yeah.
And this is where he does the same speech that his brother did. You know, he's like, "I'm gonna fight. I don't expect any of you guys to fight because fighting's hard, but when you're fighting for friends and family in your backyard,
Yeah.
it hurts a little less. It makes a little bit more sense." And like, there's all these cards that are like mad maxed out. Like, there's like a Ford Taurus with a machine gun on top of it.
Yep.
And like, we get an overhead shot of like container prison where everyone's like, Wolverines, and they're like, all the Koreans are like, "Oh my god, Morogo, Morogo." And they just storm this fucking they storm this prison camp, and they're like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, freedom." And like, they all got dripped out. Like, James, what's it called, what's his name, Hutcherson, he's like in
Yeah.
this like bomber jacket, this sweet fucking bomber jacket, and Maddie has like like a huge bandana around. Now hold on, I gotta get dressed for this. And the movie ends there. Is there anything in the middle or no? All right,
Nah.
let's get into our other section: high star, low star. Kobe.
Boom, boom, boom. So we got a 10 out of 10. Both movies were good, but this one was better. I remember dragging my father, begging him to take me to see Red Dawn in 1984. The cast is what made me want to go. This time I wanted to see the movie for the movie itself, as I am only slightly familiar with the current cast. I have to say that both had great casting, but I very much enjoyed this movie over the original. I thought this one seemed better written, better casted, and overall a better storyline. I know some will say otherwise, but this seemed more like what could happen today than the original did to me. I heard my dad tisk a few times, and even I rolled my eyes over the original, but I did not on this one. The acting of some of the cast surprised me as well. I have not seen them before, like Connor Cruz or Josh Peck, who I only knew from that Nick show that my daughters watch.
Is that it?
Yep, that's it.
And I got a 1 out of 10 here. Waste of time. I was not going to talk about this movie until I saw one of the actors interviewed on CNN. He talked about making it better than the original because today's audience are more sophisticated than they were 30 years ago and needed a better story and acting. Please. This movie's full of special effects and CGI. The acting is subpar and it's just bad movie. If this movie shows anything, is that Hollywood has no respect for audiences and just recycles an old movie, loads it with pretty faces and special effects, makes it PC, and throws it out to the audience. Seems that every year Hollywood turns out trash like this, fills it with CGI and special effects, lots of fires and explosions, and calls it art. A complete waste of time unless you are a male in his early teens. If a movie could get 0 stars, that's what I would have given it. It will be in the bargain bin at Walmart for 50 cents. Even at this price, it's not worth the dough. That guy's mad.
Wow, that's hard.
But yeah, Kobe, as somebody who watched the original, what were your thoughts on this movie?
So the first one was an action movie, but it was like a drama action, and like I feel like they focused a lot more on the original movie on the like the how war changes a person.
Yeah.
Like especially like these kids and like and so you got lots of action, you got lots of fight scenes, but they were like in little short bursts to like make a point that war is tough and that people die, and then it was back to the like, you know, the bonding of the characters. And here it seemed much more like let's make this like America's being invasion, Fast and the Furious. Like let's we'll action it up from like beginning to end, and you know, you I felt like you lose a lot of the character development. Like Robert is a super pivotal character in the original, and he's just like
A side character in this one.
yeah, he's like lost boy number 5. You know.
Yeah, it's rough, right? Because I think they made a lot of changes in this movie versus like the original. Like in the original, does Jed die?
At the very, very end.
Yeah. And yeah, and I feel like the whole situation with Daryl was a lot more. Daryl knew in the original he had a tracker on him because the Ruskies made him swallow it. So
Right.
in this one, there's a little bit more of like, I didn't know. I thought I just got stabbed.
Right. Because because they almost made it like they were like, we can't have our team kill their friend.
Yeah.
So we have to. We'll split it into 2. We'll make Pete the obvious asshole at the beginning that you want him to die, and then since this guy's friend group, we'll make him like he was tricked into it, or he was like.
Yeah, he was just.
It wasn't his fault, so he just has to kind of go off on his own to like save the group.
Yeah, so they gave him a little bit more like a weighted death,
right?
You know, because like in the original they didn't have Pete, a character like Pete, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, and then what kind of threw me off about this movie is that like they don't give you an ending, really. They're like, and then they just kept fighting.
Right. Yeah. And then the original, they have basically Jed and his brother. They're like, we are going to go into town and we are going to make such a big distraction that the rest of you guys can leave.
Yeah.
That you can finally escape. It's like Negan's got the box, so we'll make the distraction so you can go. And of course, we've been through worse, so don't worry about us knowing kind of that it's a suicide mission.
Yeah.
And that they're probably not going to make it. But knowing that they've burnt themselves out so much with this that there's not really going to be a place for them after anyway. Yeah. Like you get that feeling, and then after they both get killed, you get like a little bit of the monologue from Tony as she's like, hey, there's a plaque where like the war took place, and it talks about how rebels, mostly children, were
fighting off the Rusks.
Yeah. And then basically like, but nobody comes up here anymore. It's like only me and my sister are the only ones who ever even visit, the plaque. And most of the people have just kind of forgotten because they don't want to think about, how bad it was.
Yeah. So like you get a little bit of closure in the original movie. This one, they're just like, yeah, we're going to keep fighting.
Right. Yeah. Like this really kind of ended as if this does really well, part 2.
God, I hope they didn't think that. Because like really this movie felt so rushed. They're like, all right guys, we only have this much money, and what you guys want to do is going to cost this much.
Right.
So you got to make it fit in this budget because we can't give you that budget.
So actually, real fun fact about that. So this actually was supposed to come out in theaters 2 years earlier than it did.
Oh, okay.
But the MGM, the company, was on the verge of bankruptcy, and they were like, do we just scrap this movie and take a tax write-off? Is that better? Should we release it? Are we going to be able to make enough money on this to help us? And then they were like, you know what? We filmed this as America versus China because China's our biggest enemy. But if we go in here and like just recut a couple of these scenes to make it North Koreans, who aren't going to watch this movie anyway. We could promote this movie in China, and then have the Chinese market will be like another $25 million that we can, and hopefully that'll help us with our bankruptcy. And so there was this weird change.
Yeah.
2 years after it was all done filming, they were like, let's go back in. We could just change the pictures on the wall from from Mandarin to Korean, or Cantonese to Korean.
Yeah, because it was really weird. Because as somebody I've watched a lot of Korean dramas and movies, and I was like, the Korean in here, it seems really disjointed. It didn't feel like it fit, so it was kind of weird. I was like, why does it sound like that? Or I was just like, oh, maybe they just got Korean Americans to do it versus a Korean person. But also I think I'm pretty sure the actor who played Cho is a Chinese actor. I'm pretty sure he is. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, this movie, it's just for the for my negative portion, I don't know, for some reason Josh Peck's face at times looked CGI, which was really weird. I don't know what was going on there. This movie's too short, I gotta say. Even for this movie was alright to be, but I was I needed it to be at least 10 more minutes and then give me some sort of closure.
Right. Yeah. And there was just a number of people that got developed in the original that made a difference. So you cared when people got hurt.
Yeah.
Here it was the two brothers.
Yeah.
And then they Robert was a little, but he was just kind of quirky. Hey, yeah. Mr. Sandwich Man, put all the bread in the bag.
Yeah, when they went into the Subway and stole a whole bunch of sandwiches, that was funny. Yeah, it just that was the only thing for me. It was just this movie felt too short. It felt like they ran out of money, or it felt like it was supposed to be a series, and it was might have done better as a series.
Right,
scale it down a little bit, because you have major names in here. Chris Hemsworth was a major not when they filmed this. If they filmed it 2 years prior, then that was around 2010, where Chris Hemsworth was just getting started in Hollywood. And, Josh Peck was probably the biggest name in here.
I watched this with Teresa, and I was saying that same thing. It was really, you have Josh Peck is probably the biggest name.
Yeah. And
about the same time was the first Hunger Game. So you're starting to get...
but during filming, Josh Hutcherson was a child actor transitioning into the Hunger Games to being more of an adult actor.
Right.
James Dean Morgan was,
and he had a much more
small.
Boring part in those first couple movies before
yeah. So that was probably the roughest part of it. But we're coming up to our hour, so I'll go ahead and thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to check all of our other months down below, where we have other themes, where it goes holidays, actors, director recommendations, and just really quirky things like live action animes, live action video games. It's a lot of things out there for you. But we do our reviews in 4 different sections. We have Stream It, DVD It, Blu-ray, and the Ultimate Box Collection. Colby, where are you at for this one?
This was a fun movie. I complain. I think I would have liked this movie more if I didn't know the original. If I didn't like the original as much.
Yeah.
It's it's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It was Johnny Depp was awesome, but he wasn't Gene Wilder. That's kind of how I felt about this movie. I was this was good. I liked it, and I feel as a kid watching this, I would have gotten that same still felt that same American pride that oh man, I want to
yeah,
I want to fight. If this happens, I want to be a hero. But it just unfortunately goes against something that was really iconic in my head.
Yeah,
for the time. If you did some kind of double original
feature.
And this one,
yeah,
put them together
on Blu-ray,
I would Blu-ray that. Yeah, if it's just by itself, maybe I just do DVD. God, unless they give you some kind of like extended cut. I heard that there was like a scene where they strangled somebody with an American flag.
Oh my god!
And it tested really poorly, so they cut the scene out.
Yeah, you put that back in, baby, and then on Blu-ray all the way. Yeah, maybe if they put that in there, I'll get the DVD. But no, I think as a standalone, I probably just go stream it. I don't see myself rewatching this movie. I felt like Josh Peck with his build. I think if they had utilized it a little bit more, if he was like more of like a sneaky character, if he had gone that route, if he was like sneaky, trying to be like a little assassin-ish,
yeah,
I think that would have been cooler versus just like But I understand it's like guerrilla warfare, so they did it the way that they did it, which is fine. But I don't really see myself rewatching this movie at all. It's just like, oh, okay, I've seen it. It was okay. If you're a big fan of Chris Hemsworth.
It's funny because it's like I was kind of hyped about this movie when I heard that it was coming out, and then I never did see it. So like
because in your mind you're like
but it was Chris Hemsworth. Like I knew people, so it was like I wanted to see it, but then like it just I don't know, it just kind of fell through the cracks. And now
Now we're here.
Now I have to. I'd be like,
oh man, but thank you guys for joining us. My name is. Make sure to check all of our links down below where we have all of our social medias.
Got our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, YouTube, TikTok.
We're trying.
Yeah, follow us on something. Send us a message.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us. My name is Barry.
This is Colby.
And this is Who Watches This. If you guys want to check out the theme music, it is Lee Rosevere. It's called Arcade Montage. It's on our album Music Podcast 3, and the Bandcamp is down below.